welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Guy Minton. Today, we're back in the Den of Thieves with Mr. John Ernsberger, Carl Shank, and Mr. Jared O. What's up, fellers?
Hardy, Scott.
Are we just chilling like a villain?
Pretty much.
No?
I'm going to just tell you no.
All right, well, good.
Lounging like a hero.
There you go.
I prefer to be a villain.
I go Spider-Man.
Or
Suck it.
strutting like a bitch.
There you go. Wow.
Yes.
We're already coming in hot with the curse words.
I'm ready to go,
He's
Scott.
ready- he's
30
ready to
seconds
go.
in.
30 seconds in.
That was a good fucking minute. Come on. man.
Tick.
Cover the
Now
events,
two.
dude.
We're going to have a count.
I got the count over here. Don't worry.
Oh goodness! So we did a Old Forester with the 338 bullets from, I don't remember the company. I don't care right now. Battleground. There we go.
Battleground.
And anyway, I gave those to Carl. I passed the buck, and we are now doing wild turkey. So tell us what we got, man.
So I recharred the oak, and I ended up charring the maple and cherry, both, I'd say, level 1, best guess, just the outer edge. The maple's actually been aged the longest out of them. It's been 7 days in a decanter, and the other two are 5 days. So
7 on the maple, 5 on the cherry, and 5 on the bourbon.
yes.
All right.
And fun fact, the Battleground bullets do not fit in a Wild Turkey 101 bottle. They will fit on most everything else but these.
Why is that? Why do they have to single
I
out
don't know,
Wild
but
Turkey?
luckily I keep old bottles for decanting things in. Old Forester, and actually a Wild Turkey decanter I just bought. And fit perfectly in those. So
That's one thing you go and look for when you're at a
Oh, yeah.
yard sale with your wife, isn't it?
very much so.
Antique shopping, yeah.
So when I picked up that bottle of Old Granddad, I was like, I looked at the bottle, popped the cork, looked at the bottle, and I was like, oh yeah, this 100% would fit those 338 bullets.
Yes, it
I was
would.
like 100%.
I actually tested that
Did you?
with the Old Granddad 100 and the 114.
So the maple's interesting. I was in the nose a little bit. I don't necessarily get a maple nose off of it. The rye spice is still popping a little bit, but I do get like a faint, like fruity note, which you don't usually get off of wild turkey.
Yeah, it's got a little fruit in the back end of it when you taste it.
Tangerine, possibly? Or some kind of
It's kind of
lighter
citrusy.
citrus?
I would agree with you though. It doesn't. I get absolutely no maple. on
It could
there at
even
all.
maybe be a stone fruit, like a nectarine or something like that.
That was something I just learned about this week, and no one told me it. I just had one of those light bulb moments at Huber's where I was upstairs by myself, and I was just thinking about
Dangerous.
bourbon. I was like,
Dangerous.
oh, stone fruits are, they have a seed in the middle of the fruit, so
Yeah.
peaches and apricots and
Plums.
What else? Plums?
Yep, nectarines.
Is technically avocado a fruit then?
Avocado is technically a fruit.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
when
Tomatoes
you-
are fruit too, but
When you
Yeah.
refer back to the just regular 101 without any modification to it, it is definitely a little sweeter on the back end of the taste buds.
yeah, no,
maple
100%. I would agree with that.
But it's
a-
got like a weird funk to it or something, a weird taste to it.
I'll
Compared to
give you
the
that.
compared to the regular. I like the regular way better.
You said you charred this one too, as well?
They all got charred.
got
The
charred?
oak just got charred a little bit more than what it was to begin with, but it's still, I would consider level 1 at my best judgment here, people.
Yeah.
I did it. Propane torch, so I'm not an expert.
I thought you were a pyromaniac.
I do. I do like the finish on this.
The finish is nice.
Yeah, the finish is nice, but
There's not much up front, though.
There's not much. You get a little bit of that. Like I said, it's either like a really really mild citrus, or it's like almost like a stone fruit, like a peach or a nectarine. More like a nectarine.
Yeah.
Is anyone else getting this like effervescence of smoky char? Because that on the roof of my mouth, that's all I'm seeing to get right now. I don't.
That
even
may be
have
the
a-
finish on that. Because
Yeah.
I try to wipe down so it didn't have like little particles floating and everything, but
How many
Yeah.
days was?
this one was 7.
7 days, so a full week on the
Yeah.
maple.
Like almost 7 days exact.
If someone said bubblegum, where would you rank that? Like in a tasting note, like
I mean,
sweet.
so I,
Like wait,
so yeah, it's sweet. Yes,
Yeah. Say
it's
sweet?
sweet and chewy. It's got some chew to it, like some heavy legs, things like that. Most of the time, when I get something that's close to bubblegum, I usually get more of a juicy fruit note.
Okay.
So
almost
that's
get-
what I typically get.
I almost get like a cherry Capri Sun.
And I don't get that on this. Cherry Capri Sun on this.
just a little bit, just on the like the fake cherry flavoring.
But
Props
just
to
as-
Carl,
just
that
a
was
little bit.
That was a hell of a specific note.
Thank you.
That's
for once
props.
in my life. But the cherry is actually
But
next.
it's just a splash. It's not the whole. It doesn't
No.
go through the entire mouth like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just got a weird. It's got a weird taste or something on there that I'm just not a big fan of. I don't know if it's. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a funk. It's just like a weird. I really don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's like a weird woody sweetness, maybe, or something. I don't know.
So when I was aging this, me and my wife were both tasting it just in case my taste buds were off for some strange reason. I wanted a second taste, and this is probably least favorite for me. But
yeah,
water doesn't do anything for it, though.
I'm about to try that. So
then I'm not.
Just
gonna
makes
like
it taste like watered bourbon.
No, it's not even that. It completely kills out that mid palate.
Oh God, no.
It goes straight rye.
No.
It's straight rye.
Yeah, it's 100% rye.
Yeah,
Heat, nothing.
Yeah.
the nose like kind of dies on it.
So it does. Yeah, it kills the nose, and then the front palate is still mild, but the mid palate to the finish, it just goes straight rye at the end.
Yeah.
When you add water.
Like I normally like a.
Jerry,
Rye.
you got a heavy ass pour over there, man.
I know.
He's got
I didn't
heavy
mean
pours
to.
on all of them.
I know. I didn't mean to.
Oh,
Hey, I'm not driving home, so that's the best part. Morgan's coming to pick my ass up, so hopefully we'll find out.
That or I'm driving them home.
Or I'm walking.
So would maple fall in the same lines of sweetness as a vanilla, caramel, butterscotch?
Yep.
It's that category of sweet.
Yeah.
Because that's the least one I can seem to pick up, unless it's very full front on the tongue. That I
The
can.
problem with this one is there's just not much to it. Even though I let it sit for 7 days, it really didn't mellow out either. But I was worried if I went too long. That's my issue.
Has anyone tried it compared to the original yet? So
I did.
I took a sip of the original before I took a sip of that, and I think it tastes totally different. But
Scott, what
I
are your
won't say
thoughts
totally,
on that?
It's totally different than the original. I mean, it really is. I mean, the original, you get the rye and you get your typical, a little bit of caramel. You get a little bit of other I always equate wild turkey to having some light floral notes, but they're not heavy. But yeah, it's totally different with the maple. I'm gonna dive in on this cherry. So you said the age of cherry for 5 days?
Yes, 5 days for cherry and oak.
I like the nose on this
I
one.
was gonna say it's a lot better than the maple.
Oh, very prominent.
Both of these have way better noses than what that oak, that maple did.
Almost chocolatey.
What did Bird think of?
I've been trying to
just out of curiosity.
Me and her have a very similar taste on this one,
Yeah.
so I'll save what
Save
save
the
it to the
end?
end.
Okay.
I don't want
Okay, I got you.
to influence anybody at the current moment.
I respect that.
What made you decide to go 5 days as opposed to like 7 for the other?
I thought
maple?
they've changed enough at that point. I don't want to lose the wild turkey into what I was doing. So
Gotcha.
it's a fine, and I could be wrong because when I was pouring them out, I still had the staves in them. So it's sort of, do you decant them then recant them? I wasn't trying to do all that.
Yeah.
You think it's got a more prominent fruit note on the nose? On the nose.
On the nose, yes.
Yeah.
On the palate, no. I mean, the palate is it's actually spicier. I mean, it's got a front, like the tip of your tongue and the front of your lips. It's got a little bit of a tingle, a little bit of bite to it.
This one's, I would say, smoother than the last one.
Yeah, the finish is way smoother.
Yeah. It mellows it out.
But it's real. That's what I was about to say. It's super mellow though. It just hits your mid palate and it just kind of dies off. But it's all up front. This is all front. There's very little finish, very little mid palate.
This would be like a beginner's drinkers. You could.
Some people are not going to like that hitting up front. Some people would rather it be kind of mid palate to finish, but as long as it's not a heavy finish,
I tell you what though, it leaves a good taste in the mouth. Like after like more on the tongue versus like kind of in the back of the throat, kind of that front palate that you're talking about. But
compared to the other one, I don't get any smoke or char in the roof of my mouth at all. I get the sweetness coming through on the tip of my tongue, like Scott said, and the sides.
Yeah, it's. I think it's better than the maple, but I think it's maybe just there's a oak aspect having put those bullets in there for 5 to 7 days, and that wood's just not jiving with me tonight for whatever reason.
Would a cherry be a stone fruit as well? Even though it has a pit?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything with a pit.
Anything with a
I don't know
pit.
why I'm stuck on this for some reason.
So when you go back from the
No, it's all good.
when you go from the base to this, and it does pick up a lot more spice
Yeah.
on this one when you're swapping back and forth.
Yep. And I put a little water in it. The nose gets a little spicier. I am picking up a little bit of like that traditional like caramel, a little bit of vanilla.
Yeah. I'm getting that spice on the nose.
And
like you're saying.
it's also still a little florally in the back end, so it
Oh, I
smells
think
a lot more.
I think it is a lot more floral on the
Yeah.
nose.
I'm smelling just the regular wild turkey, and it definitely has a sweetness that the cherry doesn't have. It's different sweetness though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not sweet. It's just there is a butterscotch that I pick up in the
More
wild
like
turkey.
Artificially
regular.
sweet?
Oh,
Or
something you can. It's added to it.
Dude,
Yeah,
cherry
yeah.
with the water. So if I didn't know any better, I would say this is OESQ.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
never had it.
What's
Yeah, you have.
OESQ?
So OESQ, it's Four Roses,
Yeah.
single barrel. But it's
We've had 'em before.
They're lightly floral. It's
I've
got
had
a
one
little bit of
before.
your lighter fruit notes, like your apples and things like that. And it's got a little bit of a crispness to it, and it's got a finish that kind of just hangs just below, way above your collarbones, just like around where your Adam's apple is.
It's gonna sound stupid, but it's refreshing.
It is. It's kind of
Like
yeah,
weirdly refreshing.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. And I kind of like that about the OESQs, but
It's not so heavy on the spice in the end.
and it's
Yeah.
got just enough floral on it.
Like you could drink this during the summer and not feel like you're,
Killing your throat.
a hooker on nickel night or a whore on nickel night or whatever it is that's
It's a
got
hooker on
Stripper?
nickel night, man. Hooker on nickel night.
hooker on nickel night.
That sucks. Nickel is like not as good as a dime or a quarter. Like
No.
you are not good at your
better than a
street
penny.
walking job if
See-through.
you're going for
better
nickel
than
night.
a penny. It's better
It
than a
is
penny.
better than a penny. It's 5 times better than a penny.
That's what her
Yeah. 5. I thought it was 6.
pimp uses to
kidding,
smack her
everyone.
with when she doesn't make enough nickels.
I definitely think the either way
Sorry, Scott.
with water or
Instead of throwing rocks, they're throwing nickels.
Just a fucking dime bag of nickels.
I think definitely with
Sorry.
either way you could
He
drink
must
it.
have been drinking before I got here.
Goddamn right.
Slightly.
He may have been before I picked them up, but I think either way you could. It's still really good. It's not like the maple where when you add water, this thing where maple goes.
I like
Crazy.
it over the maple, just in flavor and
I like it
nose.
with the water.
I
better
prefer it
than
with the water.
regular.
Yeah.
See, this definitely mellowed out a lot from when I took it out because it had a lot more cherry flavor, or fruit flavor up front.
Yeah.
Scott, what's your opinion on the biggest differences between Wild Turkey 101 and Old Foe?
I mean, it's a spicy difference. I mean, I think with me, Wild Turkey is a much spicier drink just in general. Old Foe has got a similar rye pop, but it's not that harshness that sometimes comes out in Wild Turkey. I would equate Wild Turkey being probably a little bit more mellow, and it doesn't allow some of the other idiosyncrasies, I guess, that come out of that rye. Sorry, Ofo is a little bit more mellow than what
Wild Turkey kind
Wild
of just
Turkey would be.
kind of runs over it a little bit.
Yeah, as far as
Yeah.
like it just has a little bit more on the rye spice, which I don't mind necessarily, but I'm still I'm an Ofo fan by natural intent.
I think
and
we
I love
all are
and I love
Ofo
Wild
fans.
Turkey.
Yeah.
I love turkey too, but I do love Old Folk. I can't go wrong with either one of them. But
I was about to say you really
So-
can't.
this is gonna sound weird, and I know it's the oak finished, but the regular Wild Turkey it smells so much sweeter than the oak finish, like insanely sweeter. I think.
Then the oak one we're getting ready to drink.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe
Jared
I'm
cut the line.
higher
We
than
all
hell.
were still
I don't know. I'm not high.
finishing the
but
cherry.
I'm
California
catching
sober,
crazy.
huh? I see how you're running now.
Damn straight.
California sober? What
Yeah,
was that?
That's
they stopped
awesome.
drinking. They just smoke weed because it's legal.
Oh,
California sober.
California sober.
They do that at 420. Just ends. 419, they're all buzzing off bourbon.
It's
got a
420, they
funkiness
change
to
it.
I like the nose on this one a lot.
It's got a funkiness to it. I think.
You think so?
I think it's got not like I don't want to say like old dusty funk, just like a
Yeah.
funky.
I mean, I've got some old
weird
Dusty. We'll
nose.
try it and we can compare it at the end.
reminds
It's
me
not
of,
like that. It's just got a weird nose. To
You're getting kind of like I.W. Harper almost. Just that funk is kind of sticking with me too.
So I could see where you have maybe like a little bit more of an earthier note to it, but I
that's
think
what it is.
Yeah, I mean, but I still get some sweetness. I get a lot of caramel, and I get a whole lot of.
I get a lot more caramel out of this than
I get a lot of vanilla out of it too.
yeah.
It's actually seems sweeter than the maple by far.
Oh, it is way sweeter than that maple.
How many days was this?
This one was
done?
also 5 days.
5 days. Okay.
It actually tastes like it's a way older bourbon than it actually is.
We think of the legs on that, Scott.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it does. It drinks probably about another year or two older than what your standard wild turkey would.
It tastes delicious, so it's got a hell of a rye spice on the back end, and kind of going into the finish. I think.
I think, I get mid palate. I don't get the finish is still relatively smooth. I get it, but it also is very similar to the cherry. It's got a little bit of bite, and it doesn't have quite the bite. This is definitely the best one of the three. That
I
would
agree. Hands down. Yeah.
100%. This is the best one of the three.
5 out of 5.
My opinions have changed since I've dumped these,
Right.
and because my wife was cherry, oak, maple. And
Right.
I was the same way. And that's definitely changed after they've been not.
I'm oak,
Not
cherry,
having the,
maple right now, and cherry
that's
with
how I-
water. If I'm going to get technical.
But I just feel like the cherry would be sweeter than the oak, and the oak is just,
Well, I think when I
Pressing
charred
out of
it, it may have sealed it a little too much.
you know.
I'll tell you, not only charring, but charring actually should open it up. It should actually give a little bit more off of the wood, and it also should make it sweeter by natural tendencies. But sometimes when you char or do anything, I mean, it does change the molecular DNA of what you're dealing with there. So I added a little bit of water.
I swear, I sometimes get like a weird, like, I don't want to say dirty feet smell, but it's like a
Four,
weird,
man, I'm telling you, it's so
disgusting
weird.
smell.
Just enough water, man. I'm getting that
Four
four
roses.
roses. Yeah, I mean that floral note is really coming to the forefront on the nose.
So you're saying Four Roses is watered down? I'm just kidding.
No, I'm saying Four Roses is very floral.
Oh yeah. Well, it's
I mean,
got 10 different mash bills.
10 different
going?
mash bills, yeah. Well, they have 5 different yeast strains and 5 different mash bills.
Yeah.
That reminds me a lot of the single barrel select.
Oh, this is so nice.
Not the single barrel, there's the select.
Kind of mutes the nose.
Oh, the small batch select.
Yes, thank you.
Makes it a little floral, but yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say like a small batch select or something like that. Yeah.
Very much so.
I don't know. I like this one a lot though, even with water. I'm not sure which way I prefer it, honestly.
I don't mind it without the
I
water.
don't think there's a
the
way you
water
can
is-
like it
go
better.
wrong with
Yeah.
it. Honestly,
I like it better without the water.
Make sure you cleanse one of your glasses. We're gonna send around the 1994, the Dusty.
Listeners, if you could see the color difference in this bottle compared to the newly purchased 101, it is phenomenal.
so when I was at the the gift shop this weekend, the temporary gift shop down at Wild Turkey, I was talking to one of the guys that were working, and he's like, "We're still trying to get it to the 7.5 year mark. It's not quite the 8, but it's still a 7.5 year typically blend is what they're trying to go for."
So I cheated on this one. I had to make my own cork. It's actually
Oh, very nice.
because the cork broke on this when I first opened it.
Right,
That's sad.
They're notorious for breaking corks when they get older. Wild Turkey is, especially like the old decanters. Almost every one of them get a broken cork.
Yeah, I had I found
Pour while you're talking.
I would like to have some
Colin gets
tonight.
to see in multitasking tonight.
Jared's over here like going, come on. Can I get some turkey?
I found a
He doesn't want to not have anything
mini
to
that-
say once we talk about
I'm
it.
like a schoolgirl seeing her first penis. I mean, come on, pull it out.
Wow.
I found a mini on eBay that was still sealed,
Yep.
and the guy shipped it on its side, and the cork had broke. Just literally dumped it all into the box. I have like just a smidge left of that mini left.
That's crazy.
I was so disappointed.
I just want to
That's
make
what she
a
said.
point of fact that Jarface dropped the P word, and I got more flack by cussing in the first 30 seconds.
No, I
So-
got a very parental disappointed look and from Scott. So
Scott is clearly
it's-
the adult at
Scott's-
the table.
Scott's very disappointed in me right now.
To be fair, I didn't hear it.
So dive in on that nose and tell me if that is not way different than typical turkey.
It's very different.
I still got some of the
It
regular.
hits
ones.
pretty hard, Scott.
A lot more floral on it.
It's
Yeah.
so it's just so much. The nose just in general is so much more prevalent. Like it's there, whereas you kind of have to strain a little bit. I'm not saying strain, but you have to kind of work to find it.
Oh my god!
Get some more nose.
Well, I'm happy now.
How did you come by this particular barrel, Scott? Do you know?
So oddly enough, my dad, my mom had it hidden from my dad because she was using old bottles of wild turkey to pour on her roses. So it's an old wives' tale that if you put whiskey on your roses, they'll grow better. And my mom had a few of these bottles sitting up in the in the laundry room. And I was like, "What are you doing with those, Mom?" And she's like, "I said, Dad don't drink bourbon anymore." And she's like, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "I've just been pouring it on the roses. They've been turning out really, really well." I'm like, "You're not pouring this on the roses anymore."
No.
So I literally took the last couple of bottles that they had and took them home and just started, just basically bottle killing. And they were going quickly because they were so tasty. And this is the last one I've been kind of milking it, so.
In comparison to just regular Wild Turkey 101, the nose on this is dynamite.
Yes,
it's 10
it's
times
much more exquisite.
It is a lot more floral on the palate.
It's floral. It's sweet. It's got all kinds of different things. And I equated this to the stuff that I tried at Amin's the other day. It's like honeysuckle, like the old school filled honeysuckle. You pull it out.
Yeah.
This is
Purple
very,
leaves
very
that
familiar.
You pull the
That's
stem out of the middle.
I just listened to that episode the other day, and whenever I forget who it was, somebody calls you out and being like, "Well, I didn't realize the honeysuckles had changed."
Oh, that was AC Andy Crouch.
That was so funny. I
God.
laughed at that one.
Dude, they were straight ball breaking me that whole entire episode.
They were
on a mission.
Yeah.
You were the whipping boy. Now you can do. Never mind.
Andy's a good buddy of mine. He's an engineer locally here, and he stepped in for Josh. Josh couldn't make it, so it was supposed to be me, Josh, and Matt all at one time, which is unusual, as anybody knows. But it was funny because Andy stepped in for Josh, and we had a good time. But Amin did a fantastic job on that on that batch.
I'm intrigued to try one of those.
So,
I need to go out and see if I can find one.
I've got one.
What's the retail on it again?
I think 149, something like that. 149, 159. There was one place that had them for 139.
Oh, heyo.
This
And
Wild
I'm sure they're
Turkey that
gone.
you have it's so honey and pleasant. It would make a great sipper.
Yep.
Bourbon.
Yep, absolutely.
Any day of the week.
Dude, I'm so glad you picked up the honey in that because, I'm one of the few people that I was like, oh, it's got that sweet, almost like honey or
Yeah.
a little bit of maple. I mean, it's just got some really, really nice undertones on that sugar, but it's all floral on the nose. The taste is not floral. It's all sweet and smooth, and it's so good. I've been like I said, I've been milking this bottle for a long time.
I can very well understand that.
I'd like to get an older rare breed to do something similar with, but
What year was this again, Scott?
94.
94.
Also,
The year before I graduated high school. That's how I remember.
Really?
So would you want a 90s rare breed or a 2000s rare breed?
So, I would like 90s. The 2000s, the ones that I want the most from the 2000s are probably the Kentucky Legend, the old donut bottle, because those were like 2000 to 2003, 2004, something like that. But yeah, most of the other stuff I really, really want is mainly all 90s stuff. The Christmas Rye, which was 95. The split labels are all like 94, 95, 96. The Cheesy Gold Foils are all like 93 to like 97. So...
Is that mostly just like you find one in the community and then you barter for one?
Yes.
Or does any store
a
don't
yard
really
sale.
have something that old?
The ones
on the
that
shelves?
I'll be honest with you, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but it's funny that I've done it, is I've knocked on people's doors, like in the neighborhood that are older people, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And I'll just get talking with them, and I'll just kind of be like, I'm a bourbon lover, and they're like, oh, bourbon, I used to drink bourbon. I'm like, really? And they're like, what did you drink? And we just have conversations, and then I catch them again like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, you don't happen to have any old bourbon laying around in the basement, do you? And sometimes they're like, well, yeah, I do. You want to go? And they invite you into your house. You look at it, and you're like,
Love it.
and I'm like, can I buy this off you? And they're like, well, what is it, $30 or something? If even that, I'm like, well, I'll give you $50. And he's like, all right, deal. And I'm like, great. So I walk out with a $250 bottle for $50.
I'm
Well
still
played.
upset my buddy's dad for taking the 2012 rare breed from me.
Oh God.
This is one of
I
those.
got all the rest of them.
This is one of those where you could just take a sip and walk away for 30 minutes, and for 15 of those 30 minutes, you're still just fucking tasting this.
Yeah.
It's so good. It just hangs on the tongue after you've swallowed and everything like that, and
this is
it's
why
delicious.
folks chase Dusties. It's
Yeah.
just the color. I mean, you saw immediately.
Yep.
It's just stuff was just made differently back then. It's not that they rushed the product out, but like you said, they used to be 8 years old. Austin Nichols, 8 years old. They were just religiously 8 years old. That's what Wild Turkey 101 was. And then they went to a non-age statement. They went to like a 7-year-old because they didn't have the stock. So, as bourbon has progressively gotten a little bit younger, it just doesn't have the flavor. And and not to say that you can't have a fantastic bourbon at 4 or 5 years, because you can. Because I still think Wild Turkey 101's great. I think some of the Starlight stuff's great. I think the things that are coming out of Buffalo Trace, great products. But the older it gets, the better it is. And I really think there's a sweet spot, 8 to 12 years.
Yeah,
Great.
anything past really 15s for American bourbon is just way too much.
You in the 100 to 110 proof range? No, 110 proof range.
I mean,
what do you think?
I like
What's
barrel
your-
strength, because you can
I
do
agree with
anything
that.
you want with barrel strength. You can either water it down, you can keep it natural and neat, you can put it in a mixer. I mean, you can literally do anything you want with barrel strength.
Ooh, that's gonna rile up the listeners there.
And that's
Put it
fine.
in
Hey,
a
listen,
mixer.
I
just messing with you.
everybody knows that I am a barrel strength guy. I mean, like, I love it. The hotter, the better, because to me, you can do. You can take 130 proof and you can make it into 7 different bourbons. Whether
So-
it's on the rocks
yeah.
with water, neat. I mean, just so many different ways that you can turn that into, like I said, probably 6 or 7 different proof levels that I think that you would still enjoy, and different things. And then cocktails, just, I mean, a barrel strength cocktail, because you make drinks, right, at Starlight?
I do.
I mean, like, the difference between when you make a cocktail with a barrel strength versus when you make it with the 90 proof, they're 100 times different tasting.
There.
And I think that's it. Like I said, it just gives you so much more variety when you start with a barrel strength product.
So to your earlier point about it's just better when it's aged, when it's older, how much do you think of that is the production needed to sustain the demand over the last 25, 30 years is attributing to maybe the current things not being as good as the old stuff? That's like they're just trying to keep up with how much more bourbon has boomed, so to speak.
So I would say it's probably about 60% that. I'd say the other 40% is, honestly, they have started making newer labels. So, like, look at Old Forester. I mean, their backstock has to be massive, because they went from a 1 million case brand to a 300,000 case brand from 1980 to like 2000, and now they're back up to about 1 million case brand. But how they did that was not selling 86 and 100. It's from 117s, from the distillery, from the Distillery Row series. The 1897, the 1870, the
Right.
1910, 1920. That's how they were able to turn that brand around. And I think a lot of labels have seen that, and they've really, really changed it out. So therefore, a lot of your older stock is getting eaten up with premium products. So they're not making their standard product as good as they used to, because they're eating it up with other things to make a more premium product, because people will pay for that premium product now. And I think most of that started because of what happened overseas. Japan just came into the market like crazy, and so did China. And now Europe, because Europe, I mean, even though they've always been cognac and Armagnac drinkers, I mean, the amount of money they're spending on bourbon now is a ridiculous amount, and that's really what I attribute to lighter bourbon, less aged bourbon, no more age dated bourbons. So I think that's where it stands at.
Scott just took us on a magic school bus ride of history and education.
Yes or no?
And Jared and Carl look
definitely
like
drink-
they didn't pay any fucking attention.
No, I was paying
They're
attention.
paying attention, but they're over here sniffing the same glass. They're like, "Here, baby, sniff this."
Yeah,
baby.
no,
Can you
they're
sniff
like
my-
got these
wanna
shit-eating
sniff my
grins
glass?"
on here. Yes,
No,
let me
it's the-
sniff it, Scott.
It's the fact that I believe you just mixed
took-
it
The oak and the cherry.
and mixed
I
it.
took my leftovers and dumped them into one another, and I was like,
I mean, I don't hate the way it smells.
that's what
No.
I was thinking. I haven't tasted it, but the smell is actually pretty
No, the
good.
nose is actually
Darn
quite
good.
pleasant.
Drinking this makes me want to crack my mini rare breed from It's the second release of rare breed ever.
Oh, 98?
92.
92. Okay. Oh,
92.
Oh, it was 90. Man,
It's got the black label.
Yep.
This
Yep.
small little turkey. I drove down to Bardstown. I was going
Was
to
it
buy it
like-
from the guy. He gave it to me since I drove down to Bardstown. He's like, I don't collect minis here.
Huh.
It's like, okay. I have it. I've just not cracked it yet.
I was like, that's one you never let me open when I come over to visit.
Little 50
No.
mil.
Because I point at it.
But it's just that it's a mini. Oh,
Just enough for me and you to share.
Jared, that combination actually isn't that bad. It's got
Did
kind
you
of.
take a sip of it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did?
It's kind
Oh.
of got a cordial
It's not
feel
as-
to it. Like the cherry
I don't
comes
know.
through with some
It's not as
chocolatey from
awesome.
the oak.
Does anybody else want to try
I,
some?
No.
I
I'm gonna
actually kind of
pass.
like that.
Okay.
I'm not getting your COVID. I know where you've been this week.
Hey, damn straight.
I could say
I'm gonna
something,
stop
but
it
I
there
won't.
before I upset
I will-
somebody.
The Den of Thieves, I will not disgrace again.
The nose was actually pretty good, though. I entirely expected it to smell terrible, but it was
So,
actually pretty decent.
Let's remove. Well, actually, I think we already decided. Oak was first, cherry was second, maple was last.
Cherry with
Yes.
the water.
Cherry with water, yes.
Cherry with the water.
Cherry with water
So-
first.
Cherry with water.
Oh,
So you like cherry with water better than the oak?
Yes.
Okay.
oh, interesting.
So you were the one dissenter.
Yeah, I'm special.
That's all good.
He just has to argue, like everything you say.
Just with you, John.
Yes,
Just with you and my
everything-
wife.
Everything
What to
that
say.
I say is an argument that is lost to either Kayla or Carl.
Opinions are like assholes.
Opinions.
Everybody's got one,
Oh
and
my gosh.
Carl stinks.
Sometimes.
So let me pose the group before we end. What do we think in comparison to the old foe of the maple, of the cherry, and of the char? If we can remember that far back.
I still think the maple is the least.
least liked out of everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
It's just lackluster.
I'm gonna say.
Honestly.
I think that
I'm gonna say I will take Old Foe Oak, Old Foe Cherry. Then I would say third would be Wild Turkey Oak. Fourth would be the Wild Turkey Cherry, and then I would say you could really just throw either one of the maples in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the maples are forgettable.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think probably the Ofo cherry would still be ahead of all of it.
Yeah.
All the as much as I love Wild Turkey, Ofo cherry that one just popped.
Yeah.
So
and I
would-
like the Old Foe Cherry. I still like the bourbon better.
Would the maple benefit from more time in the bottle, or is it just not going to be picked up by?
I
the rest of
honestly
the flavors?
think that maple wood by itself is not really. It doesn't add a lot. I think the maple syrup is what makes those maple syrup barrels really, really pop because you get so much sweetness from them.
I almost added some dipped it in maple syrup before I put it in the bottle. I almost did that just to help.
so the maple down at B&B Barrels of Billets is the same way. I don't care for it because
Yeah.
it's kind of like this.
I don't think it adds a lot.
It's not that maple syrup sweetness.
Yeah, I
And
think you would
that's-
have to just. I honestly, I think if you were really honest to goodness going to get a ton of flavor out of a maple barrel, you'd have to do a char 5.
Okay.
I think you would have to char the whole
Just
limoncello
blast it as dark as it can get.
to get just basically to pull all of that smoky and earthy and pull all that wet likeness from that. I think that's the only way you would really, really get a ton out of it.
Parker's Heritage and Huber's need to get together and make that shit.
That's not going to happen considering Heaven Hills. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to do that.
I know it won't happen. I'm just saying. Do you do the Parker's Heritage like heavy char with the maple from Huber's and ooh, that'd be good.
It could be. It could be.
They
I
actually
mean,
released this week
I
at
don't know.
Huber's a maple syrup finished in a VDN barrel, and it is quite delicious.
So they had a maple syrup finished in a VDM barrel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna have to
not whiskey.
recalibrate my brain.
Yeah,
and figure that
not
one
whiskey.
Anyway,
I only know enough about it because of the thimble cup that I tried of it, but it was something else. Let me
Dude,
tell you.
I love their VDMs. I love
Mm-hmm.
them. So, all right. So this is the Wild Turkey episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to make fun of Jared, you can DM us at Facebook,
Bring
Instagram,
it.
Twitter.
Bring it.
We'll take it.
He likes the pain.
You can also instantly download any of our episodes through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. My favorite medium is Spotify.
Feel
Run it
that.
out that way. Email us at bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com. This is Scott, John, Carl, and Jared signing off. Peace out.